Hello everybody and welcome to episode 2 of the weekly Mewsings, a weekly television series on Twitch that's not on Twitch because it's on YouTube that nobody asked for, and yet you're still here. So today we're going to talk about something that I am very passionate about, and that is tournaments and how to run tournaments. I didn't think that this video was necessary. However, with what I have seen in recent events in the community, I think I should talk about it. Now, I first want to start out that running a tournament and tournament organization is not as easy as I'm going to make it sound in this video, though I plan to make it sound very, very easy. And that when you're the first to do something, you are at a strategic disadvantage. But today we're going to talk about some of the things that you can do wrong and what you should do correctly when it comes to organizing tournaments. So first thing you need to do when you're organizing a tournament is you need to have a clear rule set. And you might be asking, what is a clear rule set? And I would use this metric. If you can explain the rules to Kargus in 30 seconds or less and have Kargus understand those rules, then that is a good format. So that's the line that I draw it at. If you have too many rules, then the community will not follow them. Of course, I joke with Kargus because he was famous for not following rules in a couple of tournaments in the past. But that's the bar that I'm going to put it at. It needs to be simple enough for Kargus to understand the rules in 30 seconds or less. So great, easy. So the one event that I'll point at is the first event that was run. Only run 1 mana cards. Okay, that shouldn't be too many things to think about. Of course, there's still going to be tons of people who ask dumb questions. Every tournament that has ever been run, people ask, what if I randomly generate a card? Will I get banned if I play Stolen Plans and don't have a one? No, that's not how it works. It only matters what starts in your deck, and it's the same for every tournament. Randomly generated cards don't count against you. However, you'll get that question regardless of what tournament you run. Other question people got was, if I empower, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's just the starting cost. So I felt like that was a simple enough rule set. So using event 1, I would say that they passed that metric. Now, one thing I would like to point out is the struggles for onboarding onto GU stakes was very difficult for tournament 1. It took me like over 24 hours to register for the tournament, and we'll get to why that might be important later into this broadcast. It was very user unfriendly on the user interface, in my opinion. I don't think it's just my opinion, it's a lot of things I've been hearing. So when you're running a tournament, ease of entry is another key thing. If you can enter the tournament, great. Also, transparency on the check-in phase is another key factor. So the tournament last time, the Team Sin tournament, which started last weekend, there was a check-in phase. There was an announcement for a check-in. I was going for a walk around the neighborhood. I planned to come back at right around the exact start time of the tournament, and I might be like 2 or 3 minutes late. Don't tell anybody. But then I had my phone and was reading the Discord, and they're like, there's a check-in. And I'm like, oh, ooh, I better get back. So, I rush back, make sure to check in. And it comes to turn out that there was no reason to check in. So if you have a check-in, make sure that it's very well known beforehand that you need to check in. And if you don't have a check-in, don't have a check-in pop up and then advertise that you need to check in, only to have a situation where you didn't need to check in the first place, because that is very inconvenient. I also especially don't like a check-in for a tournament where you have a 24-hour time window to participate in each round. For instance, for the Sin tournament, which was trying to be inclusive of all time zones, if you hypothetically were in Australia, then being up at the time of check-in, that would be probably 3 or 4 a.m. I don't know. Of course, there's multiple time zones in Australia. I get that. So I don't know the exact time that it would have been, but it would have been a mega inconvenience for you to be there and ready to go. So just if you need a check-in, it needs to be well advertised. It needs to fit the theme of the tournament. I personally don't like check-ins unless you're doing a one-day event. So you shouldn't do a check-in phase unless you keep the check-in at 24 hours, which the check-in that I'm referring to was not a 24-hour check-in. Unless you're keeping the check-in for 24 hours, then you shouldn't have a check-in at all. Another key thing when it comes to tournament organization is you've got to be prepared for the first round storm. 90% of your problems are all going to come in the first round, and you've got to be prepared for that. You're going to have people who don't show, people who don't understand the rules, people who want to claim victory because they think their opponent did something illegal even though they ran a legal deck, people that have absolutely no idea what they're doing. Generally speaking, the tournament gets much easier the longer it goes on. People have a good sense of the flow of the tournament, understand how the tournament works, and it will get better. So whenever you're running a tournament or organizing a tournament, prepare for the first round to be the most stressful and just organize it the best you can. It is okay to disqualify people. Whenever you run a tournament, you will never have a 100% satisfaction rate. So part of being a great tournament organizer is enforcing your rules. So hypothetically, if you're running a one-day tournament and you say that you need to be there within the first 15 minutes, anybody who does not report in that time frame, just eliminate them. You gotta be hard in enforcement to get people to follow the rules. If you don't enforce your rules, then why will people show up on time? They'll just show up whenever they want, and that will mess up your entire tournament. It will make the experience worse for the people who actually followed the rules. So it is key to not only have a consistent time frame, but you need to enforce that time frame. That is absolutely important. And same with the rule set. So I kind of jumped around there a little bit. I am a ranter. I get that. So I want to go ahead and point out what we have talked about so far. So the first thing is you need a clear rule set that even Kargas can understand. And then the second thing is you need a timeline for the event that even Kargas could understand. Like, I don't think Kargas has not understood timelines before. I think he's gotten timelines right before. But a timeline that anybody can understand. It's clear, it's easy to follow. Is this a one-day event? Is this a week-long event? This needs to be. Is this event planned to take 4 hours? Is this event going to take 12 hours? This needs to be clear to everyone who is involved what to expect. For instance, some people can't commit 12 hours on a Saturday. Some people are in Europe and they like to sleep. So it's difficult to expect that. And if you're running a tournament that's only going to be 4 hours long, they might be able to play that, and they're not getting the opportunity if they are not aware. So that's another thing. You want clear rule set, clear timeline of events, and you want to enforce strictly anybody who disobeys any rule. If they disobey one of the rules, that should clearly count as a game loss. And here is the reason why. If they disobey a rule, hypothetically, let's say you can't win with the same god twice. So game 1, I win. Game 2, my opponent wins. Game 3, my opponent cues the same god that they had already won with and then says, oops. Well, the reason why they should get disqualified is they have information on the deck that I'm queuing in game number 3. So any violation of any rules should result in disqualification, because if you do not disqualify people who are breaking the rules, then people will break the rules in a strategic manner, which will not only slow your tournament down, it will also give bad actors a strategic advantage. So that's why enforcing the rules strictly is good for everyone involved in the tournament and encourages fair play throughout all events in the future. For any event that you run in the future, for any event around in the community in the future, it decentivizes people for taking strategic angles. Another thing I will point out is generally within the Gods Unchained community, you can let players try to govern themselves. So hypothetically, if a person runs an illegal card or cues the wrong deck and they get in a conversation with their opponent and their opponent allows them to just re-queue, then that's fine if the two of them can get in agreement. But aside from that, if both sides disagree, the default judgment should always go against the person who broke the rule in the first place. So those are the key foundation of your tournament. Another thing that's important is communication. And what I want to focus on communication this time around is the first tournament. I felt like that it was just discombobulated. You had Sprink, who was kind of left out there alone. The expectations for him as an organizer were clearly not communicated to him very well prior to the tournament. So who is that on? Well, the first tournament, you have GU Stakes and Sprink as the main kind of organizers, and Sully is kind of over the whole event GU Stakes Summer Series as a whole. So really, what we need is one side to step up and give clear details about every event. And this goes on pretty much everyone involved. I'm not pointing at anyone individually. But if you're GU Stakes hosting an event on your software, hey, you want to make sure that you understand the details of the event. If you are Monkey Syndicate hosting a tournament, you need to understand, you need to be able to explain to people who are coming on your stream what's going on in the event. And if you're Sully, the head tournament organizer, if you don't understand what's going on, you need to be proactive so you could be able to explain it to anyone who asks you. So what we really need is leadership. If you've got 3 parties involved in organization, all 3 need to be able to explain exactly what's going to happen before the tournament starts. Last week, I entered the tournament expecting that this would be some sort of a one-day event. I was expecting this to be the structure-wise almost exactly the same as the play-to-earn events. And of course, that was not the case. They decided to expand it to a week-long affair with a finale tomorrow night filming the video. I thought it was going to be a one-day event. The majority of people who registered thought it was going to be a one-day event. So there were people who would be located in places like Australia, which didn't think they could play in the event because of the timing of the event. They didn't want to stay up that late. And then there were people elsewhere who planned one day around it, but didn't know that the event would be going all into next week and didn't necessarily have time, for instance, this weekend to play the event. Like maybe they wanted to go on vacation or something. They're away this Saturday. They wouldn't be able to play in the event. So communication is key. Clarity is absolutely key. You need to be able to explain every aspect of your event before the event starts. This might sound like a basic thing, but it feels like the major flaw of Tournament 1, and this to me is really the most important thing. Once you get your ground rules set in stone for every event, then everything else runs smoothly. You get your rules, they're clear, you have a timeline, you have a plan for how long each portion is going to take, a timeline for each round. If you're planning to stream a live finals, have a plan for how long those live finals are going to be, and then maybe add an hour because things don't run as smoothly as you think they will. So that is the core of my rant. I'm not trying to put blame or attempt to sound ungrateful or mean to anybody, but it probably comes out that way. I understand how I come off at times. But I just want to point out some stuff that I don't want to repeat in the future, because this was event 1 of 8 in the summer series. We've got tons of other events going on in the community. It feels like whenever I wake up, there is another event being announced with another $6,000 prize pool. It's absolutely amazing and an exciting time to be a tournament player in this community. Another thing I will point out is when you're getting $6,000 in funding, it's probably a good idea to be as inclusive as possible. So really the only thing I have to say about the TS tournament, which just started, is they limited the field to 128 players, and they have it at a structure that is 24 hours per round. So it should be inclusive of all time zones. The issue they had is when they limited registration to 128, they unintentionally kind of left out some time zones. So we're in a situation where there were people in, I believe, some parts of Eastern Europe, in that general area of the world. My geography might be wrong on the time zone, but they went to bed. Tournament registration open. By the time they wake up, there's more than 128 players. So that is unfortunate. I feel for those people who don't get the opportunity to participate in the event. I mean, I get that it's difficult, but I don't know. I feel like you could include more people. And the reason why I'm pointing this out is the strategy that is going to be involved for Tournament 2 is anybody who doesn't check in within the first 24 hours of round 1, they plan to replace with players on the wait list. However, I am uncertain that GU Stakes software is capable of removing a player and adding a player mid-tournament. Now, hopefully, people will be yelling at me in the comment section on Monday saying, "See, it worked, you're an idiot." Yeah, that's fine. I mean, if nobody tells me I'm an idiot in the comment section of a weekly Mewsings video, it's not a good weekly Mewsings video. So, this is pretty much all I have in my rant. So, I'm going to give you the summary. Step 1, clear rule set. Step 2, clear timeline. Step 3, clear enforcement of Step 1 and Step 2 to anybody who violates anything. Step 4, ignore people who whine at you in your DMs for how you ran your tournament. They are unimportant. Step 5, have fun, or don't have fun. That's up to you. I hope you all have a great day. If you have not subscribed to my channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you don't like anything I said, make sure you yell at me and tell me how bad this video was. I will see you all the next time that you decide to tune in.